All right, so we're going to do now the Mamer. We're going to do now the Mamer ושאבתם בששון Mamer Yeshua, which is the second Mamer in the Sukkos for Sukkos. So it quotes the pasuk in Yeshaya. It says like this: ושאבתם בששון mimayne hayeshua, so that you draw water with joy, with sosin, from the wells of salvation. This is the source of the pasuk of the Simchas Beis Hasha'eva, because the pasuk says we draw water mimayne hayeshua with sosin, and the drawing of the water has to do with Sukkos, as the Mamer is going to explain that on Sukkos, in addition to the usual libation, nisachim, which was wine all year, on Sukkos we had also water on top of that. He's going to ask, how come the instructions for using wine as a libation on the Mizbeach all year and on Sukkos is very clear in the Torah? This idea that we need to pour water on Sukkos is something which is halacha l'Moshe Sinai, and we sort of leaned it on this pasuk ושאבתם בששון, that it has to be done with joy. The word is learned out because the word mayim in the pasuk of the korbanos by the Porei HaChag over there's a change in the psukim that spell out the word mayim, so we know that it is mayim. And so how come that's how come this is clear, that's not clear? The Rebbe is going to explain three different levels. The level of yayin that we use all year round, which is also the level of simcha, or as he speaks in the Oishis Kabbalah, is the level of bina. Then you have the yayin, which is used on Sukkos, that is simcha, which is begilui, that the simcha bursts out and comes out to the open. And then we have the idea of mayim. Mayim is the level of chokhmah, which is still hidden and quiet, which is on a much higher madrega. That's why mayim, which is not yet articulated, is not in the Torah, as he will explain. So let's look inside. All year round, there was the libation of the water on the Mizbeach. And that's very clearly articulated in the written Torah, very explicitly. In many places in the Torah talks about the libation of wine. And then on the festival of Sukkos, in addition, there was also gam nisuchamay. There was also the libation of water al gabe hamizbeach, on the mizbeach, called shivas mehachag, for the duration of the 7 days of Yom Tov. That's a law that was passed along to Moshe Sinai. It's not clear in the Torah. As the Gemara says in Sukkah Lamed Daled Amud Aleph and Zvachim Kuf Yud Amud Beis. This is not very specific, clear in the Torah Shebiksav. We do have a hint for it. The Rabbanon, they leaned it on the psukim, the mem, yud mem, that are extra in the change in the words of unsocher, niskim, as the Gemara learns it out of there. On top of it, we know shiva samayim hoye b'simcha gedola ein shom. As the Gemara in Sukkah there says that the drawing of the water was with great joy. Look at it. Oh no, I'm sorry, b'simcha gedola al shem ושאבתם בששון, because of the pasuk in ושאבתם בששון, kibur b'sechta Sukkah, say Perik Dalet, V'reish Perik Hey, as articulated, explained in the Tractate Sukkah, in the end of the 4th chapter and the beginning of the 5th chapter, about the joy, about the celebration, about the Simchas Beis HaShe'eva. So, first of all, the water on Sukkos, in addition to the wine, the drawing of the water and the libation of the water. And number 2, that water was done in a very joyous way, ושאבתם מים בששון. So we should understand the reasoning. How come? So how come we don't find this very clearly articulated in the written Torah about this Nisuch HaMayim? Nisuch HaYayin is in the Torah. Why did the Torah not write about Nisuch HaMayim? B'ayin mizeh b'zoyar b'soif chelik aleph b'hashmotis daf yud aleph amid beis v'daf yud beis amid aleph yomid beis. Okay, so before we're going to explain why the Torah does not write in Nisuch HaMayim, because this is sort of a Bahai Madrege, as the Alter Rebbe will explain, first we have to explain what is Yayin. What is the libation of wine? First we have to understand, introduce what is the idea, what does it mean that we pour water, pour wine. It says, they're talking about Nazir, about Shimshon. In the Pasuk in Sheftim, it says, basically, I have stopped my wine. Tiroshi is the wine. I've stopped the wine which rejoices Elikim Banoshim. So what does this mean that the wine is Misameach Elikim Banoshim? Now, literally, we know, as we're going to see, that when you drink wine, it makes you happy. But there's also the idea in the inner meaning of things. Drinking the wine represents Bina. And that is when there is a revelation in the level of Bina, which reveals some very mystical and higher level of Atik, which is dressed in Bina. When Bina reveals it, that becomes a level of joy. In the level of Chokhmah, that's beyond being revealed. So there's no joy over there. That's similar to the level of water. Drinking water doesn't make you happy. But the level of Bina, that is the level of the Yayin that we use all year in our Sukkos. The Bina, we know that Bina, which is called Aim Habonim, it's the mother of the sons. That's the level of Bina. That's why it's called the Aim Habonim. It gives birth to the Bonim, to the Midas, the Abba Yira. The very thing is Simcha. As the Pasuk says, Aim Habonim Smecha. The mother of the sons is Smecha. So we see that Bina is associated, Bina as a mother is associated with the idea of Simcha. Why is Bina Simcha? Because Bina is the articulation, it's the understanding. It's when a person gets a appreciation for the idea, something which was hidden, and he begins to understand it, that brings the person a lot of joy. The joy is when there is a revelation of something that was hidden, something that was obscure, and it's revealed. That brings simcha. So, so that's why simcha comes specifically when it comes to the level of bina, which is understanding. Shehu. When he understands and he grasps the hidden of Chokhmah, what happens is that it extends It's drawn down openly, actually understanding and grasping. So masik oiseh b'toiv, that he understands it well. Oz yiyeh hasimcha, then there will be joy. So in simcha comes from the revelation, from being able to grasp it and being able to appreciate it, brings the joy because something is hidden, now it's open. As opposed to when he doesn't really grasp it very well in his grasping, like but rather it's still hidden in the power of his wisdom, but it is not revealed by him mamish to be able to grasp it. He has an idea, but he doesn't grasp it. That's like when it's still in the level of Chokhmah. Then he will not receive any delight or any joy at all from the level of Chokhmah, because he doesn't really, it's not revealed, it's hidden still. Simcha comes from revelation. If it's not in the level of Bina, it's still in Chokhmah, it's hidden, so therefore there is no Simcha over there. Achine, Bina Nikra Gan Eden. Bina is Nikra, is called Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, which is Olmo di Iskasio. Basically, that it's the hidden world that gets to be revealed in the level of Bina. And that is the Gan Eden, which is the joy of the hidden that becomes revealed. So Bina is rooted in Atik, which is Alma di Iskasia, and that is revealed in the level of Bina. And in Kufnun Dalet, Ubishar Duchti, and in Kufnun Dalet, and also in other places. So this level of Bina, of the Levim were singing in the Beis HaMikdash, we'll see, we had the Avodah of the Kohanim, that was the actual sacrifices that they brought, the Korbanos, they served, and the Levim would sing. The idea of singing with a lot of noise and with joy is the revelation of the level of Simcha, and that's why, as he brings down, he says, "V'zeh hoya avodas haLevim." So this was the avodas haLevim. So based on the pasuk Diksiv, the pasuk says, "Va'avad haLevi hu." Pasuk says the Levi works the who. Who means him, which is hidden. That is level of Atik, which is beyond. And the Avad HaLevi, he works to bring down the who. Avad HaLevi who. Shamam Shichim B'chinas who. They bring down the Levim. They bring down the level of who. The Hainu Almo di Iskasya. They bring down the level of the hidden world. Because who, as we know, is Do Atiko HaMelubash B'Bina. Who is Atika, and that is dressed up in Bina. And they bring it down, Mehahelem El Hagilu, from the hidden to the revealed. The hidden level of Atik, which is the level of who, comes in a revealed way in the level of Bina. How do they reveal it? That comes through their song. Hainu al Yidei Hashir Shoyoemrim Alayayin. That is through the song that they would say over the wine. Shehu B'chinas Bina, which is the level of Bina. Yeah?
No, I'm coughing.
Yeah. V'zehu Inyan, and this is the idea of Yayin HaMesameach Elikim Ba'anoshim. Yayin that makes Elikim Ba'anoshim. So what does it mean, makes happy Anoshim? Because you bring down the level of who to the Anoshim, makes them happy because there's a revelation. So maybe a lekus l'degilu la'anoshim, you bring godliness in a revealed manner, in a revealed way to people. The hainu, how do you bring down? This is an avoida. A person learns, a person davens and reflects the idei habina through the level of bina, shemei v'numasi gedula savaye, that he understands and he grasps the greatness of Hashem. Tislahev nafshei b'Hashem, that would flame up his soul to Hashem through his understanding. So that is the idea of yayin, the revelation on the spiritual level, which brings the level of great simcha in the ability to comprehend and perceive that which has been hidden and now has become in the open through the level of bina. This is also the idea of b'chinas yayin agashmi, also physical wine. It also causes joy. It reveals that which is hidden. Say that when the wine goes in, the secret comes out. It means that the wine actually reveals you. It brings your inside. It brings that secret, the part which is inside, hidden in the person. Through the wine, he becomes revealed and comes out to the open. So it says, and the idea of hu b'dibra maschil lech lecha gabehu also. Also the idea of who, only discussing the level of who. Okay, so now it seems like, so there is a libation of wine which takes place every day of the year. When you bring a korban on the mizbeach, you have a libation of wine. So what difference is there between the libation of wine that takes place all year on the mizbeach and the libation of wine, the nisuch hayayin, which takes place on Shavuos? It is a different level because, as you're going to explain, in joy, they're both bina, they're both joy. But there's sometimes a joy that you can contain in your mind, in your heart. In other words, nobody has to know that you're happy, you're excited. So it could be you have a Gilua Helam, but it doesn't show in the outside. Sometimes there's such a great revelation, that everybody around you can sense and feel your joy. That's the difference between all year round and Sukkos. All year round, there's like a joy, but it's contained. But when it comes to Sukkos, that joy is overwhelming, so that it brings about that singing and the dance and a much stronger revelation. So what's the difference between the libation of wine, which takes place all year, and the libation of the level when we talk about moyadim l'simcha? It's time for joy that must be on a higher level. The simcha, it's not the ordinary simcha of every day. It's a special day. It's a yontif. Especially the libation that takes place on Sukkot, which is the time of simcha, because we say that in the davening, that is Zman Simcha Seinu. So in Sukkot and in the other days, there's also Yiddish Chayayin. So what's the difference between the Nis Chayayin, which means it's not only on Sukkot was water, water was an addition to the wine. So he says the difference would be is by way of example. A person who is excited and gets happy from an item. And yet, while you can be very happy, that simcha and that excitement could be hidden from somebody else. Somebody else may not know that you are b'simcha, which means so that his inside is plastered with joy and excitement, with happiness. But it's not revealed. People don't see it. But when you're very excited and you're very happy, from something, then you see your joy is visible to everyone. And he sings and he dances, with his feet. He claps his hands. He cannot be hidden. Everybody sees it. He cannot hide it because there's so much simcha, such great simcha that it cannot be hidden. So this analogy is also the difference between the libation of the wine all year round and the libation of the wine on Sukkot. Kach. Kol Hashana, when we talk about all year, Avshin is spoiled melikus. Even though he is excited from godliness, the blessed Ein Sof which fills and surrounds the world. So during the year, Afa became who behelim etzle. Still, it's hidden by him. He's not excited from Delikus, but it's by him, by the person's hidden. This alim bakeli, the light of this joy is obscured in the vessel. V'hakeli magbilosei, and the vessel limits it. That's all year round. Avol b'chag Sukkos, but on Sukkot, the fellows of Sukkos, nides simchosil ein koil. Over there, his joy is visible for the eye of all. Everybody sees. Sha'ir b'keya hakli machmasrev gedulas oiras simcha, because the light breaks through the vessel because of this great. So much great light of joy. There's so much revelation of the hidden. So there's a lot of joy, and to such an extent that it's no longer hidden, and that's why it's called Zman Simchasenu, because it's a time of rejoicing, because it's an even greater comprehension and understanding that brings about that great level of joy. Over there, he explains Bepirush, Zavas Cholvot Vosh, and we explain the meaning of Zav Cholvot Vosh, that and because of this additional light and revelation, the vessels cannot obscure it, cannot hide it. So the Simcha Zu, and this joy that we're talking about, the joy that takes place on Sukkot from this great revelation, that is the great noise. Just like a person is singing and he is dancing from a physical joy, so likewise, and even more than that, is the song and the dancing Baruchnis. When we talk about in the spiritual level, and song and praise before Hashem. As the Pasuk says, because they have this comprehension, they are with a lot of noise. Okay. So Zeu Inyan Nisuch Hayayin shall call Hashana. This is Nisuch Hayayin all Hashana, all year level of Bina. And also in Sukkos there was also wine in addition to the water. So this explains that part. Now we're going to go over to Nisuch Hamayim. The Nisuch Hamayim who hoyo b'chag Sukkos levad. The libation of water was only on Sukkos, not at any other time. So there were two buckets on the Mizbeach. One bucket they put the wine, and the other one they put in the water next to it on the Mizbeach. The one that was towards the west was the water, and the other one was next to it was the yain. Says bina. So the libation of wine is the level of bina, and nisach hamayim u'bechinas chokhmah. But the nisach hamayim, that's the level of chokhmah. And this is much higher than the nisach hamayim. What is it? Inyan. This is the idea of Kohanim and Levim. The level of Yain and Mayim is Kohanim and Levim. Levim are Yain and Kohanim are Mayim. The Yain misitra the Levoyos. Wine comes from the side of the Levis, and the Sitra the Kahana Mayin Slilin Nihirin. That's water, clear, lighting water. So you see that the Kohanim is water and wine is Levim. Why are Kohanim compared to water? Because the nature of water, that it goes from a high place to a low place. And so therefore, that's like a kohen. The kohen is the one that gives the hashpah, the flow to below. That's the level of mayim. The level of yayin, the level of excitement, that's the halah, to bring up, to elevate. The level of water is mayim yerdim, is to bring down. The kohen is a mashpia. Shahashpah yeredes lekohen gadol. First, the flow comes to the high, the kohen gadol. And from the Kohen Gadol l'chol hakahanim, to all the Kohen. Mamer Azal, sages tell us that the Kohen Gadol has the rights to getting the first Kohen Gadol noitel chelik b'roish. So literally, it means he gets the first opportunity if he wants to share and take something from the korbanos. He gets to take first. But the Alter Rebbe teaches it. What does it mean b'roish? Midas roish hu mashpia. Noitel Chelek Beroish, he is the first one to get, but he gets the level of Roish, he gets the higher level, gets drawn down through the Kohen Gadol, and then he gives it to the other Kohen. So that's the level of Mayim. The Yain Bechinas Levim. Yain is level of Levim. Shehu Halo Mimokim Namuch Lemokum Gvoyim Oid, which is the elevation from a low place to very high place. That is also when we say La Romo Kolo Berash Vishir, to raise the voice with noise and song. Shubichinas is Galus, which is the level of revelation. So the level of Kohen is to be Mashpia, and the level of the Levi is to elevate to that Hashpah, and which comes with a great fanfare with noise. Mamer Azal call Bali Hashir Yotzim B'Shir. Masha'enkin Mayim Hu B'Chashoyi. And water, on the other hand, is quiet. Maybe it's not like Yain, which brings out that lot of noise, but that's B'Chashoyi, that's quietly. Maybe Kohanim, as we say, the level of the Kohanim, the Oivdi B'Chashoyi, their avoid is done silently, in quiet. The Korbanos, what they do, the Levim were singing, making noise, but the Kohanim did it quietly, because the Kohanim represent the level of Kohen, level of Amshocha, which is not an excitement, not a revelation, and the Levim represent the level of Bina, which is the level of excitement. But we're saying that the time for the water is much greater than the avodah of the wine. Just as the Kohanim is higher than Levim, also, we know the Kohanim are higher than the Levim, because the Pasuk says, they shall be secondary to you and they will serve you. In other words, the Levi serves the Kohen. So that means that the Kohen is the main and the Levi is being served by the Levi. So since we're saying that the Levi is the Bechina of Yayin and the Kohen is the Bechina of Mayim, Kach Nisuch HaMayim Gevoya Ma'od Naila Menisuch HaYayin. Likewise, the libation of the water was much higher than the Nisuch HaYayin. Ubefrat, especially, it says, we're not talking about regular water. This is a concept of water, that water is heaven. We're talking about Shoya Mayim Chai. This was living waters that came from the well. So it is known they're very high level in the level of Chochmah. As written elsewhere, the living water that was used to be mekadesh, the mechatas, the water of the ashes of the heifer and heifer. So you sanctify them by using mayim chayim, v'nosanol of mayim chayim al keli. And gamkim v'shekos b'drush v'gata levincha b'inyan ha'efresh shebein Shabbos liyontiv. Also, as it talks over there, the difference between Yontiv and Shabbos. Yontiv is bina, and Shabbos is chokhmah. So gamkim meichen de emo meichen de abo. V'mokmachan is boil gamkin ha'efresh ben brocha l'kedusha. So gam v'chein v'kohanim nemar v'kidashtoi. Also for that reason, by Kohanim it says v'kidashtoi b'levim ksiv l'taro. Kedusha is in a higher level. That's the level of chokhmah, as opposed to taro. That's bina. Meshikosu mokamachar v'divra maschel Shabbos habosen v'al posik v'samti kadkoy. Okay, let me just.
Okay.